Hi everyone, I am here with Aamina, and Aamina has her own channel. Subscribe in the description. Getting that out of the way now because this is audience retention, isn't it?
That is true.
We are going to be making a video today about undergraduate versus postgraduate experiences of studying at Cambridge. So if you've been following my channel, you'll know that I have just finished my MPhil in Philosophy of Science at Cambridge at Magdalene College, and Aamina
Studies HSPS, so Human, Social and Political Sciences at Newnham College, which is where we are right now.
Yes, Amina's lovely room. It's very nice and modern. Very different to my modern room. You're in your second year?
Yeah, so just started second year. I mean, the work hasn't been too intense so far, so it's been like quite chilled and relaxed. But apparently second year is the hardest year, people say, in undergrad. So we'll see if that trend continues.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah.
So I was here at Cambridge studying for 1 year, and it's just you just decide your course and then you do it. But I know that with HSPS especially, there's lots of room for
Specialisation, changing.
And people at Cambridge even just completely change subjects. So I know that from HSPS you can probably just be like, actually I want to do archaeology.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I did like a PBS paper this year and it's been so good so far. I've literally had moments where I'm like, should I switch to PBS or psychology from like politics? But like I feel like you would have to do an extra year, like another repeat the year basically, so it's not worth the hassle. So
no.
I'm just gonna stick with like the one PBS paper.
Just get my degree and get out.
Basically.
So I think one of the kind of big differences between undergraduate and postgraduate study is kind of the division of terms. So Cambridge terms are really short. Usually in UK unis the term is 12 weeks, but at Cambridge it's 8 weeks, so it's a lot shorter. And as undergraduates that turns into 8 very intense weeks, and I know that some people even have lectures on a Saturday, which is
that's crazy. Like the science, like medics and like NatSkis, so people who do natural science, like weekend supervisions and lectures and everything.
And yeah, it's crazy. I could never imagine doing that. But the terms are really intense. But whereas at postgraduate there's a bit less strictness between when a term begins and ends. I know that undergraduates, you often get like booted out of your accommodation at the end of term.
Yeah. So you have like, well, it depends on the college first of all. At Newnham we have like either a termly license or a continuous one. So if you do a termly license, that's when you get booted out at the end of like the term and you have to go and pack up, because I think that they rent the room out to like people during the holidays. But if you do a continuous license, it means you have your room for the full year. So you only get booted out like right at the very end.
Yeah, which, I mean, if you do get booted out between terms, you do save money because you don't have to pay for whilst you're in there.
Yeah.
Postgraduates, we usually have much longer like rent leases, so it will be the whole 52 weeks usually, whereas undergraduates will only have to pay for like 31 weeks if you move out in between.
Yeah, I think so.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So there can be quite a difference in cost there. Accommodation and just living in Cambridge generally is quite expensive. But yeah, especially for postgraduates. Another difference is with student loans. So for example, at undergraduate, it kind of works the same for everyone, doesn't it? You get your means tested student loan based on your parents' income.
Yeah.
Postgraduate, the government just gives you 10k and that's it. Spend that how you want. Problem is that never covers all of your accommodation and your tuition fees.
Is that like a postgraduate loan?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the like postgraduate master's loan. So the government will just flat out give you 10k. Your tuition fees are usually at least 9k. So it's already nearly gone on all of that. But then you have to pay rent on top of that.
Yeah.
Which is a shame really, because it can make postgraduate study quite inaccessible, because Cambridge is quite good in terms of scholarships and bursaries and things. But even so, only a third of master's students actually get money.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know with like the like 10k loan, does 9k automatically go to like your college, or do you have to give it?
You spend it how you want.
Okay.
But yeah, it would go on like you'll get your college bill and your tuition fees, and then it's like, okay, I'll give the money to that, and then
it's all gone basically.
Yeah. I was lucky with mine in that my great aunt had actually died a couple of years. Yeah, this was how I paid for my masters. My great aunt had actually died a couple of years before, and through selling the house and it dividing up the assets between me, my sisters, a cousin, I was able to have enough to afford this masters. But otherwise I don't know what I would have done.
Yeah. That's very true. I can imagine it would be quite difficult since you don't get like a maintenance loan and things like that. I guess maybe that's why some people like do their undergrad, work for a few years, then do like their postgrad.
Yeah, you can do that to save up. Yeah. Another thing is kind of research, which I guess undergraduates don't really do as much of their own research.
I mean, I guess it depends on the degree. Like I imagine if you do like sciences, no. But if you're doing humanities, like research is basically just like reading the reading list and putting stuff together. But it doesn't feel too researchy because you're just like copying and pasting basically.
And how many essays do you usually have to like write a term?
A term? Okay, oh gosh, this is testing me now. So I've got 4 papers and I think it's like 3, so that's 9, and then I've got really one big one. But I think normally it's around like 10 to 12.
Essays a term?
Yeah.
That's more than one a week.
Yeah.
That's so many. And how many words? Like
1,500, 2,000.
Okay, that's still a lot. I had to write one 5,000 essay.
That's what I have to do
one
this
term.
year. Yeah,
Yeah, but you have to do that alongside all the other ones as well.
Yeah. But no, because I've got the 5,000 word one, that takes out the 3, so I've got 9 essays.
Do you have like set essay questions you have to answer?
You can choose from a list though. So you have to like choose. So it's like the course guide, and for every lecture it has like a list of questions underneath. So you have to write at least 3 essays based on 3 lectures throughout the term generally. But they do say you're allowed to like do 2 of them as essay plans, which I didn't take advantage of last year. I just wrote all the essays.
Yeah.
But maybe this year I might like be like, hey, essay plan for this one.
I don't know if it's not graded.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so I only had one 5,000 word essay in my first term. I did end up having to write a dissertation alongside a 5,000 word essay later down the line, but I had one 5,000 word essay, and that was I guess I did have to kind of come up with that completely by myself.
Oh, you chose the question, you made up the questions?
You had to just make up your own questions, which can sound nice and like lots of freedom, but then it's like
quite difficult.
Yeah, because it's like, what do you want to write about? And I'm like, I don't know, I like philosophy of physics, and they're like, you've got to be a lot more specific than that. You have to write about a very, very niche area, but then also you have to contribute something original.
Okay.
So you have to like investigate something, come up with your own conclusions and stuff, which you often do anyway in writing, but that's a lot more critical thinking and evaluating other people's ideas.
Yeah, exactly that. So what did you do your essay on then?
So I did my first essay on the direction of time. And I had come from a maths degree.
Direction of time? What does that even mean?
Well, I had come from my maths degree, and so I had no rigorous philosophical background. So when people ask me like, oh, do you know what Plato said about this? I'm like, no, I do not know anything. But philosophy of time is like essentially the time should be symmetrical. Like if you reverse something, it will happen exactly the way as it did forward, but like reversed, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So if you dropped a ball and then you reverse it, the ball will go back up because time's symmetrical. It's like a mirror. But there is a certain kind of subatomic particle that behaves differently when you reverse it, and you doesn't revert back to normal, if that makes sense. So you can't, it's not a mirror image of itself in time. So if you dropped this particle and you dropped a particle and it falls to the ground, then you reverse it and it doesn't do that.
Okay, got it.
If that makes sense. And I wrote my first essay on that. It was quite ambitious, apparently.
I mean, 5,000 words on direction of time, like...
The examiner said it was a difficult topic to choose. It was definitely really interesting, but I always find it when I have to do it for an essay, it's suddenly not as interesting. It hurts your head a
bit, doesn't it? Because you don't really think about like time and like direction of time and stuff. So what was like your conclusion?
This is a whole
I feel
year
like I'm like quizzing you on like your masters.
The conclusion was that time doesn't seem to have a direction.
Okay.
Because the particle does that, and then I put in a fancy equation in it because maths. But yeah, it was my first introduction to any sort of writing at Cambridge, and I don't think there was that much support given really for what a Cambridge essay looks like. I think at least at undergraduate, like first year doesn't count.
For me, first and second year don't count.
So first and second year, sometimes second year, don't count. So at least it gives you a chance to like get all your crap essays out of the way.
Yeah, basically. It gives you time to like experiment and like figure it out kind of. Because it is true, like Like for me, I'm doing psychology this year, right? And I've never done it before, so I did email like my supervisor saying, can you give me some guidance on, because for me with psychology I was struggling because I've got all these facts, but it's like, how do I change this into an essay now? I don't get how you're supposed to like discuss, because it's like factual, how because with politics you can put so much opinion in, but this is more fact, like grounded in facts. So but she was like to me, just ask this other student, but this other student hasn't replied to me, so I am just stuck. But I am just going to make a start on it today, hopefully, and then just see how it goes. But like you said, because it doesn't count, it gives you that time. But with a master's, did all your essays count towards your final grade?
Suddenly you're in there, you've spent 2 weeks at Cambridge, and now you've got to write a Cambridge quality essay, which no one's actually told you. They've just kind of said, write an essay, and it suddenly counts for quite a big proportion of your degree because you're only there for 1 year. And yeah, it was difficult, but yeah, it ended up being okay. I mean, it's recent.
Yeah, I mean, I could use some advice from you actually, because with this 5,000 word essay I have to write this term, it's like, how do you just sit down and like organize how you're going to get it done, like over the time period? Like, did you just make your own timetable, or did you just add to it as and when?
Oh, it's hard because I have ADHD as well.
Okay.
So I think the best thing is to just write stuff down, even if it's really bad, because you feel it motivates you more when you actually have stuff written down on paper, even if it's bad. I used a thing called this. They're not paying me this, or anything. But there's this thing I have called WordTune on my computer.
Okay.
And I think it basically shortens and condenses papers that you're reading. So if you have to read a lot of long papers, it really helps you to kind of skim through it easier. It takes out the important facts and leaves out.
Cool.
Yeah, I found it such a godsend when I had to read loads and loads of papers for my dissertation and things. And it keeps the original text next to you here, but then on the side it's got the bits highlighted where it rephrases them as well. So it also helps you to understand because you've also got the words rephrased. I found that really useful, so would recommend that. It was a lot of reading and stuff, but yeah, I think just if you just sit down and start writing something, even if you hate it and absolutely disagree with it, it can be helpful.
100%.
Maybe we should make a video on like essay writing.
I don't think I'll have that much to give, to be honest.
No, that's my problem. I could never be like one of those YouTubers who's like 12-hour study day with me, because I don't do that. I just cannot do that. I can't even. I can barely do a 3-hour study day.
And I feel like when you're like filming a video, when you're doing a study as well, most of your time is like setting up the cameras in like different positions, and you don't get that much studying done. And so that's why studying with me can be quite difficult, like because of that reason.
I think postgraduate study can be a bit less social, which I think can have an effect on you, because you don't have lectures to go to. No one's really researching much of the same stuff as you, because it's all quite individual.
I guess that's true actually, because like with undergrad, like you have like 4 other people, maybe 5 in your college who also does your subject, so you go to lectures together, you have supervisions together, so you sort of build connections. But I guess with postgrad, no one else is researching the direction of time, right? So
no, not many people anyway. Maybe the odd 60-year-old fellow. But yeah, and I think currently there's a debate at the university about lecture capture. A lot of lecturers are worried that no one will show up to their lectures if they put the lectures online. I think this is so false. It's so annoying that, because HSPS have done that too. So last year they recorded them and now they're not. So it's really annoying, because if you have like 2 overlapping commitments, so you've got a lecture and you've got another commitment, that's that if you do the other thing, then you're just not going to have the lecture at all. There's no way you can get it. And so it's been super like difficult, because it feels like so much flexibility has been like taken away for that reason of like good attendance, hopefully. Because the thing is, I found that people actually do want to attend lectures anyway, because it's like you can sit down, you see all your friends, you can go and grab a drink afterwards, you can ask them questions right there, you can have a bit of a laugh at the lecturer if they're a bit funny. And I liked going to lectures. There's a reason why people wanted to return to normality after 2 years of COVID online lectures. There's a reason people didn't like that and were complaining about it, because people do want to go to lectures in person.
100%, I agree. I feel like when you go in person, it actually shortens it down, because like when I watch a recording, for example, I don't know why it takes me like maybe 2 hours for like a 1 hour lecture, because I'm always pausing, making notes. But with the actual lecture, like you're forced just to write as quick as you can, and if you miss it, you miss it. But that's kind of good, because it forces you to condense it and stuff.
And force you to concentrate more as
Yeah.
well. And it's just a lot better. But I digress anyway. I think those are like the main differences between undergraduate and postgraduate study.
So like loans are like time weeks and stuff, like room licenses, and like friends, and like I guess like how we like do the degree
how it
structures.
works. Yeah. Do you find that, are there any like, oh, let's all get together and work on the essay after the lecture? Or
I have had that a few times last year. So like I said, I've not really got any work right now, which is really strange for Cambridge. I feel like something is off.
You definitely missed an email.
Yeah, I feel like I thought everyone's at a lecture right now, which I just didn't know about. But yeah, so in terms of last year, I did do that. So like, if there was a question, like maybe on the group chat of people who do my subject, they would say, does everyone want to meet at like the Iris Cafe and like talk about ideas for like what we could write for the question? So we did that a few times when we met up because we were all like lost, and I think that's quite nice. Like everyone's doing the same thing, you can bounce off each other, things like that. But I guess like you as a postgrad, that's not like a thing you can really do if you're doing really different, like your independent research, which is quite niche and things like that.
Yeah, it's just you and that 60-year-old white man. But yeah, I think those are the main differences. I think it's really important for postgrads to be able to be more social.
Yeah.
I guess the final thing I would say is that sometimes postgraduates can be more passionate and focused on their subject because obviously they're actually paying out of pocket a lot of the time, and they've had to specifically choose an area they're interested in more. I think applying to a postgraduate course can require more thinking than applying to an undergraduate one, because applying to an undergraduate one, it's like, well, I'm still finding myself, I can change, I get different options. Whereas postgraduate courses, I think you have to be quite sure of yourself. This means people can be a bit older as well sometimes. But it also means that people aren't as there much to mess around. That could have just been an undergraduate Nottingham thing though.
No, I think you're right. Like I imagine you're more focused on that, and you're more like into the actual academics of it.
Yeah.
And perhaps that undergrad where some people just go just because like
uni's
a fun time sort of thing.
Yeah, I guess on the other hand though, there is that like fun carefreeness of undergraduate, even though it's all really stressful, you're in the same boat as a lot of people, and you get second chances, like first year not counting and things, you get time to work on it. There's a bit less pressure in that sense, maybe not so much in third year if everything counts in third year.
But I quite like the fact that postgrad is like 1 year and it's sort of done, you get your certificate.
Yeah, that's
because I feel like 3 years is quite long. I'm talking from like humanities degree, like medics have like 6 years, which just feels really like quite heavy. So I feel like that's one thing I would like about the postgrad aspect, like having I would like it if my degree was more like college, so it was only 2 years, because especially since the second doesn't count, it just feels a bit unnecessary. So
although you do get more time to like at least settle in, postgraduate can be a bit of a whirlwind. I mean, maybe not as much for PhDs when they get 3 years, but if you're there for 1 year. Okay, cool. Well, I think that sorts it. But if you have any other questions, put them in the comments, and like, comment, subscribe to Amina's channel and mine. And thank you so much for watching, and be sure to check out Aamina and what she posts. Bye.